What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to yet again another episode of the AFC podcast. My very special guest today is Ken Conklin. He is the founder and the CEO of this organization called Gravel to Castle, where they actually mentor men. And he's going to be talking to us today about what it is that they do and how he uses creating content to actually advance and enhance whatever the message is, not of just your story, but of your business. Hey, Ken, welcome to the podcast, man.
What's up, my man? I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to dive into some awesome topics of conversation and hopefully leave our viewers walking away going, God damn, that was powerful. And I know what to do to implement into my life.
I guess just to really get it really started, I guess, can you just, why don't we talk about day one before you started Gravel to Castle? What was it that motivated you to even take this step?
For sure. So I'll give like the quick 15-second overview of what Gravel to Castle is. It's my mind.
Like if it takes you an hour, it takes you an hour. We got time. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, and so basically it's a mind and body training company. We focus on instilling the principles of discipline and intentionality into the lives of men ages between 18 to I've had guys in their 60s go through my programs. And the whole goal is to get guys, again, like operating with intention in each different capacity of their life, whether it's their dating, their business, their fitness, of course, finances too, all these things that are really important to a man building a life for himself that, will be ideal, right? Our whole thing is, creating the life that you want versus letting life just kind of throw whatever at you because you don't operate intentionally. We have a phrase in our company called wandering generalities. Those are the people in life that just go about, the world and go, whether it's having a victim mentality or simply not being I guess it's intentional. Like I repeat that word so many times because it's just really so relevant to the way that we operate. It's being able to go, hey, this is what I want to build, this is what I want to create in my life, what do I need to get there, and how do I need to act on a day-to-day basis? So a lot of the things I preach to guys is instilling daily non-negotiable protocols, the specific actions that will lead you to creating the results that you want. So if it's within your fitness, that's what you're putting in your body, right? The protein intake, maybe it's having certain supplements or what your diet is, as well as training for your relationships. Maybe it's incorporating a date night. So that way, when you have these, relationships that are starting to fall apart, it's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe there's some things that you're letting go of that you initially got that attraction of your partner towards you, whether it was, hey, you used to work out, you used to be so ambitious, and now you've gotten lazy. You don't have that fire in you, whatever it is, in each of these areas. I basically step in as that accountability coach. But to answer your question originally, which was, what was that day one? Every man needs to get shaken out of apathy to really create change. And for me, it was when I was 18 years old, first love, heartbreak, but also my stepmom, and I never got along. And so when she convinced my dad to kick me out of the house, and then I moved in with my grandparents, and then I found out my stepmom ended up actually cheating on my dad and marrying one of his best friends after I've already been out of the house. And then I was living with my grandparents, and I went to an all guys kind of private Catholic school where all the kids in my class were going to this, any sort of, college, whether it was like ASU or U of A. I grew up in Arizona, or if it was one of those like more higher end, private colleges such as like Stanford or Harvard, right? There's a whole bunch of places people were going. But the point is, I was the one kid out of that class decided I don't want to go that, traditional route. This was back in 2015. So like, you see all these people running around online that, build, Shopify stores or, get into acting or doing whatever route, at a young age. Like, there's always been that, but it wasn't as common, or at least like as accepted, however, eight years ago. So for me, I was this 18-year-old that was going, man, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life, but I bought a camera, moved out to California. And it's amazing how just pursuing a passion, pursuing a craft can evolve into so many different things. I always knew that I loved working out and telling stories with a camera, and what that's evolved into. I'm really blessed and grateful for, for all that.
Ken, I think in this situation, I can't speak for, I can speak to sort of like what's very common is how, a victim mentality would fall upon anybody who goes through a situation like that. you know. So having gone through all that, do you think that maybe it's kind of valuable for you to be able to connect with other men in order to achieve your mission?
For sure. And it's so interesting because I had a conversation with a gentleman maybe like 5 hours ago, and he was telling me his life story, and I heard his, and I was like, shit, he's gone through the ringer. And like, he's 23. Long story short, like he almost died when he was like 6, had like a very dangerous accident he was in. And then he had, I think it was in the past like 4 years, or at least since he was 18. I think it was 3 of his friends like passed away, like his close friends. And, you know, he told me about all the painful pit that he was in the past couple of years, and how that's shifted towards him, you know, going this new route of trying to just preach a positive message and, you know, be the best version of himself, and also recognize that life is short. And it's amazing because each of us have our own stories, and one story that one person can hear can be like, wow, that's, you know, painful and intense. Or for another person, I can be like, oh, that's nothing. You know, I've gone through this, or I've seen worse. You know, but the point is, everyone has their own hell and own traumas. And, you know, you could rip a teddy bear out of a little kid's hand, and that can be as traumatic as someone witnessing a car crash as an adult, right? It's all about people going through pain. And so what I try to preach, and because I think it's so important for men to be able to have this outlet of, you know, like a safe space to say, hey, like, I'm going through the ringer, like I'm really in pain. And not only have a place to an appropriate way to release those emotions, meaning I think it's so important for guys to be able to have that safe space to talk about the things that are really painful. And like, of course, I think in relationships, it's so valuable to have, you know, that safe understanding for, you know, a man to share, you know, whatever he's going through. But I do also believe that there's a time and place for everything. And so for men, when it comes to their, you know, fears and vulnerabilities, I always tell them like, hey, come to, you know, us, our brotherhood, with some of the shit that maybe you're not proud of, or the things that you really want to change and improve, and address that here. So that way, when you're showing up in your relationships or whatever, yeah, you can be honest about what you're struggling with, but you're not going to be able to, or you're going to be maybe a little more prepared to be like in a more logical place and be able to say, hey, baby, here's what I've been dealing with, and here's what I'm doing actively to resolve this situation, whether these are like money problems or, you know, again, like just own kind of personal shit that we're going through. But it's so valuable for men to have this safe space and a place that they can essentially, yeah, go to their brothers and say, hey, dude, I need a new perspective. I need some counsel on how I can go about solving these things. And I just realized throughout the past like 8 years, and, you know, really, so I've been doing the Gravel the Castle, like this men's work, for about 3 or 4 years. I don't even know. I kind of lose track of time because life goes by fast. I just know that, you know, I went a couple of years in my early adult life, really feeling isolated and alone, and not having a place to, talk about a lot of things I was just really still going through, even years after it had already happened. And I feel in a 10 out of 10 now in my life, where I feel like my mind and my body and just like overall my being is just so dialed in. And it's not only because I figured out a good process, of course, but it's also too, I have community to talk about these things with that I'm going through. And that's the thing that I think every man needs. And you can find it in so many places, whether it's listening to a podcast like this and maybe commenting in the comment section going, man, I really resonated with the point at, 10-minute mark about this, or maybe it's being able to actually talk in person, face to face. But either way, guys need a safe space, and that's what I try to provide.
Well, what is it about your program that keeps I guess sort of like the retainment of all of your members, all the men that are involved? What is it about your program you think that makes them stick around?
Sure. Well, so everyone searches for community in some way, right? Community
Sure.
can be a partner, right? A relationship, or it can be, a whole bunch of people that you connect with where you share similar values or interests. And so one thing that I provide to my guys as a coach, and I try not to be this like kind of guru saying like, oh, I have all the answers, but rather I say, hey, I know where to look. And here's what I found from looking at this place. And I direct them to go look in that same place. And then whatever they come up with, that's what they get. But no matter what, I do step in as an accountability coach where I step in and basically check in with my guys every single day. I have a couple different tiers of access for my programs and whatnot. But every single tier gives access to these weekly calls where we basically show up every single week and talk about the wins and losses from the past week, dive into the bottlenecks of either our businesses or our fitness or relationships. Of course, have fun and basically catch up with each other. But it's also just really addressing like, hey, what's my intention for this next week? And how do I need to pivot and shift based on how last week went and whether or not I'm satisfied with the results that I got? And a lot of the things that I preach to my guys and have incorporated into our programs is, ways to track your progress and your results. So if it's with money or if it's with your overall well-being, I have these daily audits and these end of week assessments that I have done for the past 3 years religiously. Like that's what I do no matter what. Like a habit becomes kind of part of you once you've done it so many times. Like I would feel so uncomfortable and just so off if someone told me like, hey, I want you to go a day without doing your daily protocols. Like they've become who I am. And the thing is, like, some people may like, it's so funny because like some people have an idea of like an addiction is always bad. Like, no, we're human beings. We get addicted to things, but it's about being addicted to things that are going to support you and get you closer to your results, right? Healthy addictions. So being addicted to, say, for example, it's acting or being in the film industry. Like I love, writing stories. Like that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. It's a creative outlet. It's a way to express yourself. The way that I express myself is through tracking and measuring my progress as a human being towards my highest level and highest vibration.
I've been really learning a lot about vibrations over the last couple of years where like on a spiritual level, we had a kid have a podcast come out not too long ago called his name is Smooth Double B. And I got to listen to his book, and it was about how to survive the apocalypse. Didn't really go the way I thought it was going to go based on the title, but in that book,
I need to read that, I think.
I got it on audiobook, and it was just all right. I mean, I listened to it in the car, and I'm like, wait a second, where's the apocalypse? And he's really talking about some things like that's happening internally, not so much the external apocalypse that seems like it's on its way biblically. But he talked a lot about how the body kind of like operates on hertz and that it's a form of electricity. And from that electricity, it's also projecting for other people to feel and sense on. And they could kind of just either raise theirs to avoid that, or they could drop down to it. And then all of a sudden we could raise ours. And it was this really mishy-mashy, weird, incredibly scientific thing that just makes me wonder, is that what the Academy in Hollywood actually is talking about when they're going all scientific on us? Because I didn't learn that in acting school. And I'm just curious, like, what exactly in your experience, I guess, helps you control or even recognize the vibrations you're receiving or projecting?
Well, yeah, I'm very in tune with my body and how I feel. And that's something that I don't think gets talked about enough with, say, the younger generations, right? Like I didn't get taught, other than maybe my mom, about like, being tuned to your feelings and, like being a boy growing up. My mom and dad were always separated. So I basically grew up with a, single mom for most of my life. And, not having a masculine figure telling me these things. I kind of shut it out and didn't really pay attention as much. I think we all need someone to give us answers, but also someone that we like want to be like. And like, I love my mom. My mom's awesome, but I don't necessarily like strive. Like, I want to be my mom. I want to like be the, man. Right. And so like, I think it's important for us to sometimes get the advice from people that like, again, like we strive to be like, that we kind of are like, yes, like that's the ideal life that I want to build for myself. But to tie in with your question, I am able to really assess like, how do I feel and what allows me to operate my highest level, right? Not only like mentally, like for me, I don't drink. That doesn't mean like it's completely out of my life forever, but like I think I had one drink, a glass of wine in the past many months. I don't know, like it's been a long time. And because I just love feeling aware and alert and like conscious. I love being able to speak eloquently and not stumble upon my words and, just sound way less intelligent than, I would like to have for my standard. Right. And so sure. I think all things of like what we're putting in our body, how we're training our body, and like a lot of things such as like cold showers. Like there's so many different health benefits. Like biohacking, I'm super big on biohacking, and biohacking is small changes to your lifestyle to increase the efficiency and productivity and kind of the ways that your body's able to react to things. And so, for me, a lot of the physical biohacking that I do, whether it's intermittent fasting or cold showers, these things that actually have a physiological change and are able to get me to like feel shocks to my system and really like adapt to the way that I'm putting my body through these new changes that have, of course, health benefits, but it's also like mental clarity. And that mental clarity, I think so many people lack. And for guys like you and I, to where we're aware of these things and we, recognize like, hey, like, however I try to operate and whatever actions I take, whether it's the food I'm putting in my body or how I'm deciding to even perceive things, when someone's talking to us, it's easy to become aware whether or not the conversation we're having is a positive or negative one. Meaning if this person's complaining all the time and they're just like draining you, it's a physical thing that we get, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking to so negative, you literally feel like there are vampires sucking the energy out of you. And I've gotten to a point to where I have no problem being straightforward and saying, hey, listen, like this is a little too negative for me. If like I'm down to have a conversation with you, and I don't just shut people out. I try to be respectful. I don't ever want someone going like, wow, Ken's an asshole. They can think that if I've gotten to the point where I've already done the pre-framing of like, listen, like here's my intention. I love having conversations. I love connecting with people. I care about people, but sure. I'm selfish, meaning like, if you think you're just going to take all this energy, like, no, like I'm not going to take shit from you, but you're not going to take energy from me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm all about just positive growth and all that stuff. So I feel so comfortable letting someone know, like, listen, this conversation is like draining me. Like I can't have this. And however they react, that's on them, right? If they're like, oh shit, like, wait, why do you think that? Like if someone were to say that to me, I'd be like, really? Like, can you please let me know why? Maybe certain things I said or whatever, because I want to be aware. And that's something that so many people really lack is self-awareness, right? But self-awareness can mean so many different things for the people. For me, it means being aware of what words I'm saying or how I'm reacting to things, my triggers, right? And so maybe you tell someone, hey, this conversation's too negative. Like, I don't want to talk about this. And someone gets triggered. What are they triggered about? Are they triggered about the idea of you not wanting to talk to them? Or is it that they're attached to a certain conversation point because they have one viewpoint that they're not willing to look at the other side? That's sometimes politics. The left versus the right, right? If you're too far, like it's chaotic. And it's just so interesting how, like the people that I've discovered or like found to be the most like positive, healthy, and like even like inspirational, where like I want to emulate some sort of characteristic of theirs. Those are the people that are able to have their viewpoint and maybe be firm in certain beliefs, but also be open-minded and be able to go like, hey, what can I learn from you? How can my idea and my stance be challenged a little bit?
Sure. And did this all stem when you became a fitness trainer and it just expanded into so much more?
Man, I've been into fitness since 17/18 years old. But I really took it seriously and really shifted like my viewpoint on it rather than just like, go work out, try to get some muscles, which was from like age 17 to I'd say about 22. To then when I went through a breakup when I was, I think 22 or 23, something like that. I'm 26 now. And again, it's hard. I like to forget timing sometimes, but a couple of years ago, I just realized, hey, like, I really want to build more, masculine traits and really, embody a version of me that I actually feel like more proud of. And like, I feel like is more of a man than, what I felt like I was a couple of years ago. And I knew that, and actually like my inspiration at the time was, I was watching a lot of like superhero movies, and one of my favorite movies is Batman Begins, because Bruce Wayne, the journey he goes through, if you're familiar, that's why like movies are amazing. Yes. I love movies.
I'm 100% familiar. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because, movies allow you, in my opinion, to step into this character and if you can relate to them, imagine like yourself going through a parallel of their own journey and story. And so it's funny because when I was watching Bruce Wayne, after Rachel told him, your father would be ashamed of you. And he decides to go on this route because he went from, being this trust fund kid who lost his parents and like was directionless to seeking out life and seeking out challenge. So for me, when I went through this breakup, decided like, I want to put myself through challenge, like not just like physical workouts, such as like going to the gym and trying to squat more. Like, no, that's it's a challenge in some aspect, but I mean like mental and like psychological challenges, such as like flipping a tire for a mile, or like going and like driving up to Flagstaff or like any sort of like really cold place in either Arizona or California, and swimming in lakes while they're frozen. Spending a lot of time in isolation and being comfortable with it, and just all these different things that was able to really help me with, putting myself in a situation where I'm like seeking adversity for the sake of transforming a perception or way that I'm going about perceiving challenge in my life. And so I truly believe that throughout the past couple of years of really seeking that physical adversity, such as like these, like one of my most challenging workouts I've done, like I mentioned it, the tire for a mile, like a big tractor tire, like that shit took me the most recently when I did it, which I think was about like a year and a half ago, like 2.5 hours. I have a YouTube video that I always film these workouts on the YouTube channel, and it's like 2.5 hours, just like straight flipping the tire. And like, it's exhausting, but my most challenging one was 15 push-ups every 15 seconds while running a mile, meaning I'm running a mile as fast as I can, knowing that the longer it takes me to do, the more push-ups I'm gonna have to do. But like that Rio is fucking exhausting. But like those are things that of course challenge your body and you get you looking jacked and feeling amazing. But it's also like when you do it, you're like, wow, like that fucking pushed me. And like I had to tap into a different level. And we all have these inspirations that we have. It's a lot of them have been in movies. But it's I think it's just amazing when you can like really tap into that headspace and recognize that like fitness, like this kind of direction is a perfect route for that.
It sounds like you're actually building a kingdom with tactics like that. Like, holy cow. Did you actually do that?
Oh,
you did that.
Yeah, I document my YouTube channel. And like, that's one of what's great about social media is, like I think resonates to the world, right? But not everyone is going to be self-employed and selling, say, coaching. Like some people are just working, whatever job, but you have to realize that, I think we all have this message and we all have some sort of like instinctual desire to, preach a message of some sort, right? Like a lot of people, when they see, even the guy I was talking to today, his name was Tristan, the 23-year-old that I talked about a second ago, he's telling me like, dude, you're doing the exact stuff that I want to be doing. And it's like, I felt that same way when I came across a handful of different people kind of doing semi-similar stuff. And then you kind of watch them, you emulate them, go through their programs and like, learn their kind of formula and methodology. But then, you're like, hey, this is their stuff. Like, I think this is a little bit better. Like maybe if I tweak it and like do a couple different things that are like, along their path, but, and like, try out things and like experiment. So it's definitely great to have mentors and go through, other people's proven processes. But eventually you just go like, hey, like I'm going to test and play around and create stuff. And for the past couple of years, I've had this title self-given of experimentalist, where like, I'll just think of crazy shit and just write it down and try it out. How I came up with the 15 push-ups every 15 seconds while running a mile was Dave Goggins has run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And I was just thinking of something I could do a YouTube video on because I was like, feeling like making some content. And I'm like, fuck it, let's do this. And then I'd never seen that. Like I guarantee like there's no, I remember looking it up and like there's nothing on internet since, or at least before when I posted that video. But like, like I don't post every workout because I do that every day, but whether it's on my stories or occasionally a YouTube video, like I document my stuff. I document these things because I want guys to see that, hey, here's a guy that is actually living this code and living the principles that he preaches. I think that's so important. That's how you build trust, especially with, say, like, a coaching business or any sort of business, right? You want to showcase. Being transparent is super important, and the ways you go about that is different for every company or a different brand. But for me, it's showcasing like, hey, here's my body. Like I'm always have to be dialed in. You know, I'm not always going to have the same chiseled abs. Sometimes I'm in a semi bulking phase or whatever, but like I'm always going to be looking great with my shirt off because I prioritize that. And I also know that there's guys that if I'm telling them, hey, I can get you jacked and all this stuff, and yeah, I was jacked 2 months ago, but like now I'm not, like that's not in alignment. So I know that the standards that I raise myself towards, because I want them for me, it also impacts other people. It also impacts, hey, some people look up to me and I know that. Like, I'm not saying that I'm this guy that everyone is like wanting to be like, but I do have guys that I know that I give some inspiration to because they tell me, because they rely on my accountability and like checking in with them. And so
Right.
I also know that in many ways, it's not about me. It's about what I'm doing to be this leader for the people I care about. And the people I care about range outside of just my small circle of my friends and family. It's also these men, and it's also people on the internet, right? We all have these people that watch us. And it's a matter of what are we going to do with that attention that's going to lead to some sort of positive growth in the world. That's what I try to preach. And hopefully a good amount of people accept that and take it in.
Of course, like you can't ask anybody to do anything that you haven't or would not ask of yourself first. I mean, that's leadership 101. Especially like that's a principle personally that I try to live by, or not even try, that I specifically do that to everybody I ever encounter. And this past week, or now we're filming this in June, but on what was it, I want to say June 14th, 15th. I got asked to speak at this nonprofit organization called NYN Events. It's like New York nonprofit events, and they have a very special event once a year called OPCon, and it's a summit of all of these nonprofit leaders. Never even heard of these guys. They contacted me and asked me if I could speak on their panel this past week. And I left a very positive impression. It was really cool. I was just like, I was kind of taken aback because I did not have any clue going into it, like really sort of like the gravity of what OpCon actually is and the impact that you have over 100 nonprofit founders, CEOs in that room with you are there for, and the I guess sort of like the bandwidth of what like the coverage that they actually do city to nationwide, some cases internationally. And fun fact, everybody liked me. I didn't mean to tell jokes or anything like that, but when I would ask or answer a question genuinely and authentically, of course they would find me hilarious. And I got a lot of business cards out of that event, and a lot of people actually really did. They complimented some of the things that I said. Of what culture is, what creativity is, like just little things like that, where it wasn't a planned response, and it wasn't like sort of like a robotic form. It's my biggest compliment was that I was the most authentic speaker of the entire summit, and I learned that was really cool. And I mean, not to kind of like take a moment, I didn't mean to brag, but it was real, like it was just such a win to be a part of that. And it was so cool. I got free parking in the city of Manhattan. How do you get that? Like the day started off just right, and it ended even better. Like I got to meet all of the vendors, and apparently they were playing a game. If you did actually speak to every single vendor, just have them sign this little card, initial that yes, it's true, you spoke to everybody. And I had to go back and get everybody's signature and whatnot. But they did a raffle where you could win a $200 DoorDash gift card, and I won. That was, and everybody else did it, but the way it actually I found out was actually really funny, because I stepped outside just for a few minutes. I had to just kind of like reset, decompress, and I'm standing on the corner. I'm smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden, have you ever seen Wayne's World?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Oh, come on. All right, put that on your list. It's Wayne's World. All right, so there was a skit comedy on the old SNL show called Wayne's World, and it was Mike Myers and Dana something who played Garth. Yeah. I forget Dana's last name because I always called him Garth. My entire life, that's Garth. I'm on the corner, and then all of a sudden, who walks right in front of me and past me on West 4th Street, going about his day, was Garth. He walked right past. He walked right in front of me, and I'm like, that was freaking cool. That was the guy. That was Dana. I knew it right then and there. I'm like, that's Garth. And so I'm like, wow, today is awesome. So I flicked my cigarette. I walked back downstairs and I just started sipping a little bit of water, and I'm resetting my coffee, and I'm about to go walk back in. And then I hear, and now the winner of the gift card is, and I'm like, oh, great. Astoria Filmmakers Club, Phil Cappadora. And I'm like, and I scream, coming! And the entire summit lit up laughing again. And it's just like, I won. And I went in again, shake my hands, yada, yada, got the photo. And it was good just to have a win. And I think what I told that story was really because I do remember saying inside that summit as one of my closing remarks, because we were speaking on the panel about board of directors. And that's serious business. And these guys got it down pat. And they know a lot about how to get money into their nonprofit to do what they do. And that is a lesson I still have to learn. But something I did say that everybody responded very well to was that if I don't actually show or teach my board of directors and everybody else associated with the AFC on how to be a leader at all, then I failed as a leader, because this organization, it will never belong to me. I'm just an actor. I'm a regular guy, just like everybody else, pursuing my dream. But I am creating a tool that's very usable and sustainable for everybody else to do. And I always felt that if I did this job right, they would be able to do the exact same thing. So then the AFC could live on long after I'm gone.
Yeah, and so like two things. One, the first thing that comes to mind is what you said is like, that's legacy, is building something that's going to outlast you. And that's what I think all of us are here for, is like to build, right? And build something that's going to benefit others, right? And if you could do something that's going to outlast you, like, that's amazing. That's why, like, recordings, videos, movies, or podcasts that people can consume. That's like, your kids can listen to this stuff, right? That's one thing that I try to focus on, is for my intention is, whether I'm making little YouTube videos or whatever, I'm realizing like, hey, these are like the guiding tools that I'm gonna have for my children, so that way they can watch like episodes of the life of their dad, so that way they can relive that, and like I can relive it too, selfishly, because I love it, because I love looking back on time periods and being like, it's good nostalgia, right? But it's also a way for people, yeah. But what I really loved about what you said about like these back-to-back wins, I think that's just karma, bro. That like, that's you having done good stuff, being a good man, and pursuing, listening to that internal voice, whether you label that as God, the universe, your future self, that's you being on the path. And, you have so many good things happen. Like, that's where, like, whatever the hell you were doing, man, like, you had a day where like it was just back-to-back wins. And like, I try to recognize when that does happen, like, wow, like, I'm going to really soak this in and recognize it for what it is. Because obviously not every day is like that. Like, sometimes life just throws you shit. And as much as you can dodge it, eventually sometimes you go like, hold on, I'm dodging like way too many things in a short time period. Like, what did I do? Like, I must have done something.
Yeah.
So when you're having all this good stuff coming, you're like, what did I do? I must have done something, but good. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a great line in The Sound of Music. Are you familiar with Sound of Music?
Yeah. Again, it's been a while since I've watched it, but I've seen that a couple of times. Yeah.
But you're very busy, and who has time to watch 1,000 movies other than me?
Like, as much as I'd love to watch that over some action flick,
Well, bro, I'm 36. When I was 26, I at least saw those movies, but you got a lot of time. You can watch a lot of movies in 10 years. But in The Sound of Music, there did come to a point where Fraulein Maria and Captain Von Trapp were literally just taking in, as human beings for the first time. One was a nun, one was a captain. They don't really have time to actually have like legit intimacy. But they found that as they got to know each other, and they just became Fraulein Maria. But watch the movie, bro. But anyway, there's a line in the movie, and they sing it, where nothing comes from nothing, nothing ever could, or should. But somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. and they go about singing things like that, and that always stuck with me my entire life, where somewhere in my youth or childhood I must have done something good. And those are the things I think we all need to like really take a moment and appreciate the wins you get, because yeah, you're going to go through hell to get to heaven, man. And somebody told me that while I was on set one time, and it didn't really occur to me until it just popped into my head just now. I don't even remember which set it was, but there was like, it was such an early time for me as just an actor. I think I didn't even finish school yet, but this guy, his name was Optimus. He gave himself that nickname because the Transformers had just come out, and this guy is a Laker. This guy. I mean, I don't know if he ever was in the NBA, but this is a mammoth of a human being, and he gave his name Optimus. And I'm just like, wow, dude, you're in phenomenal shape. Like I just saw it, and I'm like, I gotta give this guy some credit. And we spoke for a few seconds, and he even said, like, sometimes you got to go through hell to get to heaven, man. And you do. I think you got to put the work in. And I think everything that does come our way, there is a law of attraction to a lot of things, but I think a lot of it comes from the actions we take. Not always the words that you say, but it's always the actions or the inactions that we take that actually has things come our way. You know what I mean?
For sure. No, totally, man. Yeah. And I love what you said about you got to go through hell to get to heaven. That's the same thing with like the self-inflicted adversity I talked about. I believe that, me being in this great headspace I'm in right now, like I still have shit that I experience life, ups and downs, but, it's interesting because I think I'm in such a good place in my life now, because like I spent years working on myself, but like I was also like going through tough time periods and recognizing like, hey, like how do I want to be a victor or a victim out of this, and really changing my perception of challenging experiences in life, whether it's a heartbreak or you lose some business or whatever it is, right? Recognizing how it can benefit you, and then all of a sudden all these dark time periods or challenges you experience in life end up being seen as opportunities for growth. And you're like, sick. Like if you could twist your mind to think, oh my God, this just happened. Sweet. I'm going to get 5 life experience points from this versus 2, because the rest of the shit I went through wasn't as bad as this. Just like simple little myself, and I teach other people too. It's like, same kind of mentality. It's like, you got to get through heaven to get to hell, or the opposite, whatever it is, both, right? You're always going to have ups and downs, right? You never.
Well, I'm almost 100% sure that everybody who is currently in hell right now once was in heaven, so you're not wrong.
Sure, yeah, and that's what's interesting about like I've changed my perception of like the phrase of like get to heaven, and things that you hear, and like obviously like with a religion, but also just realizing like, what if heaven and hell is like on earth, meaning heaven is like the good feelings of like love and happiness and fulfillment, and hell is anger, frustration, sadness, and disappointment and regret. I've realized that when I felt those feelings of I'm living in a hell, right, that's when I had the negative thought processes and even responses towards certain experiences. And, heaven for me, which I feel like I'm going through, right? It's like, you can't have the good without the bad. So there's always going to be yin yang, but also like recognizing the balance and the beauty in that. Like I wouldn't appreciate all the good things I have in my life right now without the bad things having happened, or even that reminder when I just go through little frustrations. And like even today, like I had a great day today. And I can think of like 2 things that were like frustrating that I was like, fuck. But I've had too many good things that I'm grateful for and appreciative to like, that doesn't define my day. That's just a moment, I have great people in my life, and I love what I do. I've awesome conversation right now, right? This is the stuff that I live for. And so at the end of the day, when I go to bed or do my daily audit, I write down these good things and my day is a success. I don't think about the negative. I think that's one thing a lot of people could do is they could switch their perception of what a bad day is. Like if you had good things that you did, and maybe your day was just constant hit after hit after hit. Well, what did you do internally or personally that would allow you to go, hey, here are some wins, whether it's a workout, hitting your protein intake, meditating, or just doing a cold shower, like small little wins that you do yourself. Like I find so much satisfaction in that. And maybe like if you were to compare on paper my day to someone else's day to where they're like, no, but my day is a win. Like, how could that be a win? It doesn't matter. Like, I feel like it's a win. That's what I think success is at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, having these goals, but also recognizing like success is individual for everyone. It's a specific outcome or feeling. And when you can change what you view as each of these feelings or how you're able to acquire those feelings, that's when I think you can be in control of your happiness. And if you can do that, you're fucking winning life. You know what I mean? Like some people are not happy. That's really the goal. That's what everyone seeks. That's why people want to go make money, because they want to go find a good partner and be able to be a catch for that other person, right? Yeah, of course, money can do things selfishly. But like, I think at the end of the day, like why we oftentimes work out and other things, because we want to feel accepted and feel loved and be able to have that position to where we're able to give love. So then like that right there, happiness is like love too. They're all the kind of the same thing. If you can self-love plus be that person to where you feel great, you feel abundant, you're able to give love to other people, you're going to receive it too. And at the end of the day, you just win life.
Amen. I agree.
Amen.
I do. And I am not a religious man by any sense of the traditional word, because I actually learned what religion actually is. But when it comes to spirituality, more so what is a relationship and how to focus on that and who is the creator of all things. I'm working all that. I'm not going to actually put a word to it because like personally, I think words have such a strong power, and not to trigger people or just have that one point, but in this realm, I think personally, like a lot of definitions of that world and that realm, there are no absolutes to actually identify something with a natural tool to the supernatural. We can understand as sort of basic points and call it God, call it the creator, call it the universe. It's all the same thing. And I think some get a little bit trapped when we get stuck about the, I guess, sort of like the limitation of words and language, because every single culture, to my knowledge, they all believe in a creator in one way, shape, or form. So unfortunately, like we just can't speak their language, but we all have an equal understanding that there is. So where does that leave us? And then it comes down to building relationships. And then, okay, conversation is going to go in a different direction now.
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
Something I think about is like you say in this moment, like I don't think about religion a whole lot. I'm definitely the same boat as you. Like I'm spiritual. I pray, not every day, but like, often a couple times a week, just out of like gratitude. It's like whatever feeling that I know is out there, the creator, but also know like I'm the creator. I am God in many ways because we all have God in ourselves. Again, like what is God? Fucking like, we don't know. Like no one does. Anyone that claims they do, like, I think we're all just coming up with feelings and putting meaning to those feelings. And I believe that me knowing that I'm a creator of my life, I can go in addition to a woman, like create a baby. I can go create a piece of art. I create things, right? And so in a way, like I am the creator within my own life. And then there's many different lives out in the world running around and experiencing this world. And so I think when you can feel like and believe like, God's living through me. And one thing that I think is good about religion is like, it instills like values and morals. And I think that if you look at the different country, like for example, like United States, very divided. And like this is where, if we go too much down this route, it'll be a whole nother conversation. But like, if you look at Indonesia, where I was at for the past 4 months, because I've been doing a lot of world travels, the happiest people I've ever met, right? They give offerings. If you've ever been there, They give offerings to their, God, and they put stuff on the street every day. Like they're very religious, where like they practice prayer, and of course they fast and at certain times of the year for Ramadan and all these things. And yeah, I go back to the States and I see like just everyone's miserable. Not everyone, but like a lot of people, the majority of people just like walking around looking depressed. And like, you go wave at someone, they're like, why the hell is this person waving at me? Versus you wave at someone in Indonesia, they smile, wave right back at you, and you feel so good. They just wave at you. Just their city if you're like out of the populated like touristy spots. And it's interesting because, religion is so relevant there. And again, like I don't practice religion. I just practice spirituality, but like in a way, like gravel to castle. I don't want to say it's a religion because then it'll sound like a cult, but in a way, like that's like my mind and body training. Like that's essentially what religion is too, right? You're practicing your mind.
I always consider different religions as just another format of different techniques, honestly. They're all every single one of them is a spiritual practice. We call it religion, but it's not limited to that. There's technique involved, and then it has a direct impact on your spirit, which is what we are first. We have possession of all these things that we see, but that's not what we technically are.
100%.
I'm figuring it all out as I go, and that's why I'm just like, okay, tell me more. Awesome, tell me more, and then I apply this to my life.
And like I've gotten to this point in my life where I realize like you can have convictions, and of course like science proves things too, of course, but for the most part it's like we all have our convictions, and oftentimes the strongest conviction that doesn't sound too crazy is what's going to win people over. But again, at the end of the day, it's like like I don't feel the need to win people over. Like if I have someone coming to me and saying, hey, like I love what you're about and I want to be part of your sphere and your circle and the thing you've built, then I have an obligation to like instill my values and, preach it to them. But, and, I'm not going to be knocking on your door saying, hey, have you ever heard of trying to sell some book with all the answers, or say, have you heard of Jesus? Is Jesus relevant in your life? I'm not going to be doing that. And that's what I think. Social media is I can my message and my thoughts, but like I'm not forcing anyone to follow me or live by that stuff. You know what I mean?
I get it, bro. And, it's kind of nice just to maybe self-reflect a little bit once in a while and just be like, who am I doing this for? Why am I here? How much time do you think I have? What could I do with just today? What differences can I make?
Yeah.
I think that's purpose driven. And I think as men, especially, but I think everybody, women included, we're all purpose driven. But I think we live out that answer because sometimes it's not just going to be one thing, and everybody has a motive. Everybody has intention, whether it's positive or negative. It's all going to like contribute to, I think, their destiny in life, their destination. Where's it going to go? And you said it yourself.
Yeah.
You are the creator of your life, and that is 100% true. And my curiosity is, you mentioned earlier that you're now in South Africa.
Yes. So, I've been in a handful of countries over the past 9 months, I think it is. But so in Bali, met an incredible woman named Leia who we connected so well, and she's actually in this room right now. She's in the bed next to me. But like a very amazing alignment, and the timing just like was really interesting and like fascinating for both of us, like in the best way possible. And both of our visas were ending, and she was heading back. She had like overpacked way too much stuff, and her plan was to travel, but she's like, fuck, I got too much shit to travel with me all the time. And my visa was ending, and like with Indonesia, like, you could fly out of Indonesia for a day and come right back and start a new 2-month visa. That's fine. But you got to fly out. And so no matter where I had to leave, and I'd never been to South Africa, and, ended up falling in love with this woman. And we were talking, and I was like, hey, well, how do I tag along to South Africa with you? So here we are, and
you're crashing. So Indonesia has a reset policy, and now you're not crashing necessarily, but you came over and then you just kind of stuck around. What's the visa policy in South Africa now?
So I'm able to be here for I think 3 months. So it's definitely longer than Indonesia, where you actually pay for a 30-day visa on arrival, and then you can extend it. But it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to extend. And then last time I was in Indonesia, when I first extended, I had to fly out to Singapore for a day, then fly back to Bali, and it's exhausting. Like traveling just is tiring. Even flying to South Africa. I bought a ticket like 2 days prior to leaving, and I ended up having like 4 flights with a couple layovers, and it was just tiring, man. But I love traveling. The process isn't as fun as the idea of it sometimes.
Oh, what's it like in South Africa? Like the tourist attractions, like all those things.
So far, I've seen some like a couple giraffes and zebras, not just in the streets, but at an actual sanctuary restaurant. Yeah, no, it's so funny because my girlfriend is talking about how, joking with me along with her friend, being like, "Oh yeah, like we ride, like school buses. We don't have those. We ride giraffes to school and all this stuff." And it's just, like so funny. Like, we don't have so many of the animals, even just the birds. There's these giant birds that are so loud and so annoying. They basically yell like nonstop. I can't even describe it, but it's not unlike anything we have in the States. I've been all throughout the States. And it's funny because, I'm like, wow, this is so cool for all these different animals, that she's just like, yeah, that's a hadida. That's the name of these crazy ass birds. Versus like, if she were to go to the States, I guarantee like she'd see a coyote or I don't know, whatever animal that maybe she hasn't seen before and be like, whoa, what's that? And I'd be like, yeah, that's a this, But South Africa, for the most part, it's very similar to the States just because of the city I'm in right now, Johannesburg. It's just, it's familiar, it's Western, everything's in English. You could get a burger, you could get all these good food, go to a mall. The only thing is there's these like in the States, you can go knock on someone's door, right? The front door, and they can answer or look through the big hole. That's not the case here. You have giant walls and giant gates that separate, outsiders from entering your property. Because I guess there's a lot of people like breaking into homes, and it's not the safest aspect compared to maybe the States. So there's a lot of like tall ass walls separating, you from the front yard of houses. So that and that's everywhere. So that's been interesting. But other than that, it's been very welcoming. I'm white. I'm the minority out here, and it's interesting because it's like a whole different culture. Different groups of people like talking with different accents, and like I love it. I'm like, this is cool as hell. I'm glad I don't see a bunch of Americans.
Oh, did you ever see? Are you familiar with the movie Lethal Weapon?
Man, you got to give me like a list of 10 movies that I got to see because.
All right, I'll start with this. Has anybody ever said like you remind them of a certain actor?
Yeah, I've gotten Adam Driver, Kylo Ren from Star Wars, and then this fucking guy from Trailer Park Boys. There's a guy that I've been told I look like.
All right, but what about Mel Gibson? Ever get that?
No, but I'll take that as a compliment. I think Mel Gibson's a badass. So
he is
from what I know.
He is a badass. Yeah. In the 90s, he ran the train. Like he crushed the 90s.
Yeah.
So yes, you just got darker eyes compared to Mel Gibson, but you almost look identical, and you're definitely a very familiar character, similar as Martin Riggs, one of his characters that he played. So Martin Riggs was a special forces, I guess, Vietnam veteran, came back stateside, came back home, a couple of years go by. Maybe it wasn't Vietnam. It was probably something in the 80s, like Grenada or something like that. I forget. But anyway, he was in special forces, and one of the first stories that he did was basically like, just the crime that's happening in Los Angeles. Best friend and partner, long journey, was Danny Glover as a Detective Murtaugh. I highly recommend you watch the movie because it fast forwards to part 2 on the introduction to Joe Pesci into the world of Lethal Weapon. And I guess that's where I come in, the little Italian. Yeah. But in this one magical event, what ended up happening was Joe Pesci's character laundered $500 million from South African diplomats in Los Angeles. And yes, $500 million, $1,000 bills in cash, all of this really cool stuff. And that was my first introduction and only knowledge ever of what South Africa actually is and was. And, is it's a movie to watch. It'll probably connect a couple of dots, and it'll probably make your girl shake her head and just be like, what, Americans are dumb. Like little things like that. But it was an excellent movie. Spoiler alert, Martin Riggs, every time he gets near a woman, bad things happen. Poor guy.
No, I'm sold. I definitely am curious to watch that now. So I'll have to let you know what my thoughts are. And
it's probably free on Tubi by now. Lethal Weapon, like, dude, I've watched so many movies growing up. It's like, it's ridiculous, but that's how I communicate. That's how I talk to people.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love those like kind of dark tone movies where there's action, but also like bad stuff happens, or even fuck, what's the movie with Robert? I think it's Robert De Niro. The blonde guys that rob a bank. Point Blank, or no, not that.
Oh, you're talking.
There's some
with was he the playing opposite of Joe Pesci, the old timer cop? Because they did. I know the movie you're talking about. I just forget the name of it. I only saw the first movie. The second one. Are you talking about when he's older? That one that came out in the last 5 or 6 years?
No, I'm gonna pull it up while we're talking, just because I think it's an amazing movie. But it's like a perfect example of like the types of movie I like. Even with like Fight Club, things like that. I just love those movies where, it's like, the good and bad, and like in many ways, like they're all kind of a heat. That's what it is. Heat.
Oh yeah. I've seen, like, I saw the original, but I haven't seen that. And my mom wouldn't let me watch the whole thing. She fast forward through the commercial. Like, I was allowed. I recorded everything when I was a kid with my VCR and VHS, and she would censor everything and then make me fast forward through certain parts. But yeah, everybody in the end didn't. Everyone lives, and then there's a part 2 later on. Yes, I've seen the movie.
Damn. Okay. Well, I'm gonna definitely watch that, because I did not know that everyone lives.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Those same 2 characters, as they're older, they reconnect. And Joe Pesci still plays a cop. Robert De Niro plays the not cop. Like, not the villain. I don't think there's such a thing. But in everybody's story, you're your own hero or your worst enemy. You're the villain. You're the villain in somebody else's story, but you're a hero to your own. Things like that. And shout out to Game of Thrones for teaching me that lesson, because it's true. And then again, it's all a matter of perception. You gotta see everything from everybody's perspective and point of view. I think that's the key to diplomacy.
That's what's awesome, is you can watch all these movies and learn all these lessons, whether it's movies or TV shows or even, again, like podcasts. But it's more fun to kind of listen to or watch like a full-on movie and like dive into a whole story, and that's what like I kind of have like a learning mindset when I'm listening to a podcast, or like a really relaxing, like entertaining mindset when I'm, watching, entertainment. And I just love like watching stuff that I can relate to, and like even learn some stuff from, but like have it be disguised in it. Like I'm watching it to be entertained, but if I can get some lessons out of it too, it's like Heat. I was just like, man,
oh my God,
the guy drove off with the girl and like been great, but he couldn't he could not scratch or give up scratching that itch of like, I need to kill this guy that I need to get revenge for. And I was just thinking the whole time, like, bro, Robert De Niro, you got the fucking money, the cops on the way, like, go. You got the girl with you too that you fell in love with, like, what are you doing? That was alone. Even the movie Blow with Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was such a sad story.
Yeah, and it's just like, fuck, that's sad as hell. And it's like,
what the hell? What kind of life do you want to live with $30 million as opposed to 10? Like what? Or even to get one? Like, what are you doing? And you just keep going.
Or even be like, even that at the level of like, man, like I did these crazy things. Why don't I just accept, like, fuck, that's a good life to look back on. And like if you have $1 million, like, fucking take off and go live life,
Oh my God. Yeah, me and my dog, we would go on a safari if I had $1 million.
Yeah, like there's a whole lot of stuff you get, especially if you get outside the States, man. That money will go a lot further in the countries such as like Indonesia or any Southeast Asian country.
Currency exchange rate.
But yeah, no, I'll give you some breakdowns of some places to go. If you get that $1 million, like, hey, here's how to make it last the longest.
I could probably I could probably have just as much fun with $1,000 and just go take a trip, you know?
If someone could make $2,000 last, obviously not living some crazy lifestyle, but like a humble lifestyle in Indonesia, like, obviously minus the flight ticket, which is like maybe $1,000, but like going out there and then, yeah, like they got hotels so cheap, food, you could get a meal for yourself and spend, $6 versus like in LA or, New York, like, spend 15, 20, right? For the same kind of meal, but like you're eating good. Like I want to get this and this. So then you end up spending like maybe $20 on the meal in Indonesia, but like you're eating like a king. You're just eating all this good food. I'm getting my protein intake almost right away within the first meal of the day. It's amazing, man.
And I could definitely eat. My mother trained me very well.
Same here, man.
I was just looking at Heat for a moment, and it was 2 hours and 50 minutes long.
It's a long movie. I remember.
Yeah, I was on, what was I? I was 7 or 8 years old when this came out, and yeah, my mom wouldn't let me watch the whole thing. But I remember watching it because I don't know if it was my dad or it was just on TV. But yeah, if ever anything was on, I would always just sit down and watch everything, and that happened to be one of them. But yeah, these same two characters, I think 20 years later, they reconnect, and that was just Al Pacino's and Robert De Niro's last or most recent film that they did together. It was a piggyback off of that movie.
Well, I'm definitely gonna watch that. I'll put that on my list because that sounds like I love the movie and it was a great storyline. Yeah, that's another thing I love. And like obviously, like people have certain feelings about, say, like the Matrix. And this one was interesting because it was like a remake, but it was a continuation. It was confusing in some ways, but like whatever it is, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel movies and stuff like that, like I truly believe you have like the magic era where like the first couple movies are like amazing. Sometimes you can't recreate the same magic from like the first Matrix of the previous ones or whatever. But I love stories and I love the evolution of characters. That's why I kept watching The Walking Dead since I was in 8th grade up until like, the thing was in the past year when it ended. Because it's like some people like, oh, this show is not as good as what it once was and all this stuff. Like, I don't give a shit. Like I'm attached to the stories and I'm loyal to my show. Like these characters, I care about them and I want to know what happens and like I'm gonna stay with them. So that's why when you say like this movie, these two characters, like doesn't matter if it's a great movie that ranked high or if people are like, oh, here's just a cash grab. Like I just love the fact that you got the story to continue on and like the fact that it's them 20 years later. That's so fascinating to me.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I guess that's something I got to like catch up on because, of course, I've seen there's this app called Letterbox. Shout out to Vinny Fiorenzo. He told me about Letterbox, and basically it's your own little personal database, and I think you could make contacts through other people. But basically, Letterbox is every single movie, yes or no, did you watch it? And I guess maybe I don't know what it's for, whether or not people actually just, take the data just to see what kind of movies you're into. And like, I was perusing through it for a couple hours, kicking back, drinking wine. And I got so tired, because I just kept saying, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I saw it. No, I did not. Blah, blah, blah. And I clicked like in just a matter of hours over 5,000 films. And there's no way I'm halfway done.
Jesus.
Not
5,000.
Even more. I'm pretty versatile in movie experience and kind of, I guess, contributed to me creating the AFC. I got into acting often from an unusual approach. I just needed health insurance. I went to college, I did a play, and I got sucked in.
Man.
That was it. Like that's the shortest way to describe it. And now I run a nonprofit. Here we are.
And that's what I remember I mentioned in the beginning is like, you have these things that kind of start your journey in one way and you almost never can predict what it could turn into. And here we are, both of us following our own paths and having an awesome conversation and, building a connection. And that's what's so amazing is, you never know where your life's going to take you with just like answering and calling or, trying something new, or for you, like you said, needing insurance, right? Just you're like, okay, well, I'll do this. And then here you go.
It's kind of a big deal to have. And I remember back in, I went to college right at the beginning, at the end of 2007, going into 2008. I think Obama just was getting into office, and I think it wasn't mandatory to have health insurance in the United States yet, but it was pretty, like, the only reason I stayed in college was because I needed health insurance, and that was it. And next thing you know, here we are. It kind of just sort of like shepherded me on this path. And as much as I tried to get out, where I'm gonna go live my life, do something different, this always, I swear to Christ, always something like sucked me back in. And yes, for me, it's something I do feel very fulfilled in. Like, I feel a sense of accomplishment from it. There's a lot of real work of storytelling that I really want to do, especially responsibly, for the way things are going right now. Whether it's media, creativity, or the oppression of creativity and the limited access to express yourself. Another reason why I created a streaming platform, it's because, all right, we don't need you anymore. We're going to be our own self-sustaining little ecosystem. You do you.
Yeah. And that's what's great, is not relying on these big platforms, or even like we say with music or movies, where like, to create a movie, you had to go through whatever the process was. I just know it's a lot more complicated, even with music, right? And nowadays, like, if even with business, right? Like I just built a website and figured out a couple things online, and here I am, right? And each of us have our own careers that evolve into new things and opportunities that come away from just being able to leverage kind of the evolution of our society and technology. And it's like it hasn't stopped. It's going to keep doing it, because then new problems get created, right? It's like, oh, you can't say these things, you can't talk about these topics because this and that, this person's offended. But like, now it's gotten to a point where people are like fucking fed up of that, and they're tired of being limited on what they can express themselves as. So yeah, like what you said, what you're doing is like, that's amazing, man.
So you mentioned that you're really into like storytelling. Do you ever see yourself like creating something a little bit more, not fictitious, but something a little bit more creative, where it's more of like a nonfiction, maybe a book or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, like even just like the movies I use to market my company, like it's actual footage of events or different chapters of my life, but the way that I can edit them and create a certain feeling, and even just like with like color grading, right? Like giving a certain like mood and energy, ways like that's how I like to express that stuff. I've done comedy improv actually, in Bali. I was doing these classes where, we're kind of like, having fun and, being silly. It's more of just like a creative outlet, but like, it's a way for me to also just tap into that ability to just be like quick on the spot and creative and think, but also again, like have fun and be playful. So like, I wouldn't say like necessarily a full on movie. I had ideas for that for sure. I haven't put too much headspace in that, but like, no, I love watching movies, and I'm a very creative person. I love thinking of like, I love Star Wars. Like it would definitely be like an action movies or some sort of.
I think your girlfriend was a dead giveaway that you're a fan of Star Wars, bro. Just saying.
Yeah. Princess
Leia, dude. You like, of course you're going to like Star Wars. That's an awesome name, Leia, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah. Who is named Leia?
Princess Leia is named Leia.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Did I hear you right? Your girlfriend currently is named Leia?
Yeah, Leia. So yeah, we actually brought that up the other day or whatever it was. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, no, maybe it was last night. I don't know. I don't have the best memory, but I think we were talking about that.
Adam Driver.
Yeah.
So basically, Adam Driver is technically the fictitious son of Princess Leia as Kylo Ren. So there's a lot going on there.
We're still trying to work out the timeline, and like, maybe we're doing a little alternate universe, some multiverse stuff. where Kylo Ren and Leia end up together. But hey, that's a
Oh my God, bro, that's some Epidus shit right there, man.
yeah. Luckily,
Right.
it's a different universe where those laws aren't applicable.
Ah,
But no, but
the law of
yeah,
attraction. Am I right?
yeah. But no, so I probably have to get the conversation wrapped in a couple of minutes. But I do want to end on like a certain note. Is just like of course, like anyone that's listening to this conversation, like I've enjoyed, had some good laughs, and that's what's important is like being able to have productive like leisure, and that's what I think a lot of people can find through listening to podcasts or having conversations with intelligent people. And hopefully that some of these topics of conversation were valuable for any of the viewers. But if there's anything that I like to like leave on or leave off of certain conversations, is like have some sort of like closing statement or whatever, is like, at the end of the day, like I'm so grateful for being able to have connections with awesome people like yourself. Like we have the mutual connection of Freddie that somehow it went up, I think it was like Telegram group or something. That's where we got connected. And like you stay in touch with people throughout a while, and like you never know what things can turn into. And I think one thing that has allowed definitely both of us to build the lives that we have and to continue heading the direction that we're going is the work that we do on ourselves allow us to be a certain person for the right opportunities, right? Meaning like you prepare for what's to come, whether it's like, hey, you have a certain role that comes your way, or you have an opportunity that comes your way. Like you're ready to pull the trigger and act on it and be that person that can capitalize on that. And so I hope that anyone watching this video that maybe, or like listening to this podcast, that maybe had some good entertainment or maybe some good values, some nuggets that they took away. It's like recognize that like how you can implement whatever it is that you've learned and consume in your life, and like actually be that person to where like whatever life is looking like right now, like recognize you can change that. You can completely shift the direction that your life's heading into. And also, I don't know, just be around awesome people, be that person that other people can learn from. And I think your life will look awesome from that.
Well, you said it yourself earlier that we're all drawn to community. We all need that. And the people you surround yourself with is basically going to shape your future.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I want to be, I know it's kind of getting late over there. I definitely want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for coming on the AFC podcast. This was a change. This was a change of pace for me. We always end our show with a segment called "The Right Words at the Right Time," and I chose this segment because in my early days, I was only 22 years old back in 2008. And I was reading this book called The Right Words at the Right Time, written by Marcy Hopkins. And I'd be reading this book on set, or off, like in rehearsals, off to the side. But I always had the book with me. And it was just this archive and this collection of short stories and short essays written by Marcy Hopkins of all of these like celebrities, household names, whether it's Shaquille O'Neal, Mel Gibson, politicians, you name it. There's like a few hundred people that were in that book, but they were all asked the exact same question, and every single one of them had a different answer. And I wanted to ask you that exact same question. Leading up to this point in your life, has anybody ever given you the right words at the right time that always have stuck with you through thick and thin, for better or worse, that helped you overcome any challenge that you ever came across and overcame it? If not, do you have any words of your own that you want to give to someone else?
For sure. So actually, my business's name came from a song by Mac Miller, who passed away. He had a lyric in the song "When in Rome" that came up from the gravel to the motherfucking castle. And that always stuck with me. It was just like one of those like hype kind of rap songs. And that album, Good AM, came out when I was going through a rough time period that I talked about at the beginning of this call when I was 18. But he also had a song that talks about, as soon as I learned that the more you do, the less you wait. That phrase of the more you do, the less you wait has stuck with me since I was 18 years old. And I recognized that, something takes 1,000 hours. You could spread that 1,000 hours throughout the duration of 2 months, 2 years, or never. And a lot of people never do it, whether it's like working towards a XYZ goal. Some people work towards stuff, but they never really make too much progress or really get things going off in time. Like, I want to be successful, but I don't want to be successful when I'm 60. I want to live my life as a successful man. And I think that there's many things that each of us can do to sacrifice. And that's what I did since I was 18 years old. Started my first business and 19, and really pushing myself and, building myself. I recognize that there's things I want to give up now to be able to have the life I want down the road. And Mac Miller's, quote, the more you do, the less you wait, always stuck with me. So I feel like for the rest of my life, I'll always attribute, a lot of just the experiences in life I've had that are awesome to that man.
You got to send me a link of some of this guy's work and songs. I do not know of him before you mentioned his name. A musician, Matthew, what was it?
Mac Miller.
Mac Miller, not Matt. Okay, Mac Miller, MAC.
Yeah, so you'll put me on to some movies, I'll put you on to some music. How about that?
Deal. Absolutely deal. And I gotta say, I absolutely love, I always hated the terminology rags to riches. I truly do. I never respected that term because I never felt in my life, for me personally, that I ever came from a rags background. I think my dad is a champion of a human being, 9/11 first responder. The guy is a titan amongst men, and I'm proud to call myself his son. But oh my God, talk about a tough act to follow. And I never felt like rags to riches, and like, not for us. We always respected who we are, where we come from. We're not wealthy, not even close, but we're not rags either. But I love I love your different perception on the concept of gravel and gravel to castle, because I think we all start out in a very similar, if not equal playing field for most of us, because people, if you have watched Braveheart, as I'm sure, there's some people that were born inside the castle, but they weren't able, the castle just crumbled around them and it just became gravel again. And the cycle, it just continues, and I really like that you have that kind of sort of like a, not like a wheel, but there's symbolism, I think, in your company's name, Gravel to Castle, because it'll be ongoing,
It's a journey to becoming something better. And the cool thing is, if you live with a growth mindset, like every castle you build, like that, it becomes the new standard, the new norm for yourself. And there's always a new mountain to conquer, or a new castle to build, or a kingdom, for example, right?
Yes.
And I think that, that it's literally just attributing to a name that I got from a person who helped me get through a rough time period, knowing that I help guys get through rough time periods in different ways. Like, it's just all comes around, like you said, like a circle. It all comes around. What goes around comes around. So, and that's what just even have this conversation at the ending point about the question you asked me. I really like that, because it just kind of made me tap into that mentality I was at when I was 18. Again, that's just how I have gratitude. Just recognizing, doesn't matter what fucking shit I got going on right now, or that I'm gonna have to deal with tomorrow. I am living the dream that I had when I was age 18, and I'm grateful for that. And so at the end of the day, I want to keep pursuing the things and the goals I have in my life, but I also know that if today was my last day, I lived an eventful life, and I'm so happy for everything I've been able to experience and the people I've been able to connect with, and I'm winning. And I hope that everyone listening to this, and you as well, you recognize the ways you're winning, and just appreciate all the good shit that's in the world,
Ken, God bless you, brother. You're such a young guy. I wish I was 26 again with I wish I knew exactly what I know now then. Not for nothing. I truly wish I had. I truly wish I did. You've accomplished so much, and I do. I will most likely, more than not, join your knights of the Gravel to Castle Kingdom one of these days, especially when I'm ready. I got a lot of things coming up, and I think I'm going to need what you got to offer.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the words, but that's what's cool is like think about the 46-year-old version of you. And this is what I used to do when I was younger. Think about like, what would he want to know, and what would he be able to say, or like probably say if he was going back and like, man, if only I can go back 10 years, like, because you said you're 36, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the 10 years, like, I can hear the things you say you wish you would have known. I can be, okay, well, like, how can I make sure like I leverage this time I have? And that's the same thing with you. How can you make sure that the 46-year-old that's looking back and going like, man, I wish I knew what you were doing, or here's what I would do differently. Like we can learn so much from the visualization of the future, as well as just people that are older and being able to hear from what, they recommend to focus on. So it's amazing stuff. I'm sure we'll have a conversation, number 2, one of these days.
Well, you got my Telegram information anytime.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll both get some new life experiences to talk about, so that way we have new things to report on.
Do you have any plans coming back to New York for a visit?
Nope, but I know I'll hit you up as soon as I do. I'm kind of out of the States for a while, unless I have some business coming up. I might go out there shortly, but overall, I'm trying to see the world, man. I'm trying to see what else is out there, and it's been fun so far. And the more I experience and see, the less appealing the States is to me, to be honest.
Yeah, you're not missing much, especially when there's a cheeseburger everywhere.
Well, I'll tell you, the second you get out of the States, I've been to a handful of countries so far. And so I've so many more to experience. But if you're ever in the headspace of like, I want to travel around for a little bit, I would love to share some of the things that I definitely have been able to fall in love with. And yeah, so there's some cool stuff that I definitely would love to share with you and have you, check out.
If you've scouted it, I'll trust you.
Hell yeah, man.
Ken, you're awesome, dude. I want to wish you and Leia the most amazing good night. I always end the show with this. Thank you for coming on the show. And to wherever you go and whatever you do, it's to always remember to never forget your community, the creativity, and the joy. Find it in everything you do.
I appreciate that. Hope you have an amazing night, and I appreciate the conversation.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right, my man. Have a good night.
Ciao for now.